First of all, welcome. Okay. This is basically the Metal Meltdown podcast, and it's something I started after going to a Gutslit gig here because they had come to perform, and then after that, unfortunately, I had a bit of an accident, so I couldn't really go to gigs anymore. And while I was recovering, I was like, why don't we start something, to do with metal? Because at the end of the day, it's given me so much. So that's when I started. First, I actually started interviewing individuals who were here. And then I started branching out to India. I mean, if you've seen one of the episodes, Guts Letters on there, I had Chaos. I had Bhayanak Moth also, but I forgot to record them.
Oh
But
no.
yeah, uh, I've had who else? Yeah, I've had Septic Isle. I've had a lot of different people. So I mean, it's
Nice.
not. And you are actually my 12th guest because this is episode 12. So you are my 12th guest. It's quite nice, because like I always when I first started following you, I used to think that this guy reminds me of Ishan in many ways.
Thank
You
you.
know? So because you all also technically have that same sort of legacy, I guess, as Emperor does, where you all were a band that forged something and then the main head just solos into a whole different league altogether, you know?
Well, thank
But
you.
it's nice to see that besides Demon Stealer, of course, you have managed to follow other passions as well, like with Headbangers Kitchen and things like that. And I read all the questions that you get every other day, and it's really funny to see somebody promote uh, pork and beef because I eat that, but not a lot of people do. But it's interesting to
Yeah.
see somebody actually promote that as well as you do. You know?
Yeah, I mean that's just who I am and how I am, and I don't know how to be anything other than myself. So I'm just myself online. That's it.
Yeah. But tell me something like how did how did you get your start in metal? You know?
I mean, it was the standard story. I had friends in school who gave me some metal music to listen to, and that's kind of how I got started. I mean, I always grew up listening to sort of rock music, but I was also quite heavily into pop music in school and a little bit of Bollywood and techno and all this stuff. And once my friends introduced me to metal through Iron Maiden and Metallica, I kind of got hooked onto the genre, and there's been no stopping me ever since.
But like for me, even I was pretty much the same. I had started out in like Bollywood and all of that, and then I moved on to, the old 90s rap when Tupac was still alive and things like that. And then even I had one friend who was very nice and he started showing me metal, but he didn't show me heavy metal. He showed me death metal. So
Oh,
I
wow.
so I kind of got in through your melodic Swedish death metal, all that sort of stuff. And then went in all the other directions. Like for me
Nice.
now, I've gone so far down the rabbit hole that the mainstream stuff doesn't hit anymore. It's for me 90% of the underground stuff is where the meat is. You know,
Right.
like you
Yeah.
listen to all the mainstream and it doesn't hit the same. There's very few bands that do, but those are mainly like most of them have started to follow the trend of trying to become gateway bands instead, which I
Right.
feel kind of sad
Hmm.
because that essence is not there anymore.
Right.
But yeah, like when I started, actually exploring the scene that was there in India also, because I got to that part very late. I
Hmm.
was primarily more stuck in the European side and the American side of metal. So I didn't really think that India had a scene, and then Metal Archives comes along and is like, "Hello," and I was like, "Okay, this is there as well. Okay, we'll give it a shot." So I mean, for me, I when I started, there was quite a few bands that I used to listen to, but now I like the heavier shit. So like your Gutslit and who else? There's an Indian band, but I forgot how to say the name. I think it's Trevade or Kestrevade or something.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. They're I think they're a prog band, if I'm not wrong, but they're good. And yeah, I've gotten to a point where like if I don't hear any growls, I feel bad. Because
Interesting.
like yeah, because like clean vocals hit when they need to, but I can't do completely clean songs anymore. I've heard too much brutal stuff that I'm like, okay, I need a growl or something.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. But I mean, when I watched some of the reels that you've posted recently about the comeback, so in that it feels like this was more of the older material from what it sounds like.
You're talking about the show that's happening?
Yeah, yeah, the show that's happening.
Yeah, so the show is basically the 10-year anniversary for the Demon King album. So the idea was to celebrate that album because it is 10 years and mostly to play songs from that album. So there's not going to be any new material at this show at least because the lineup that's there for this gig is a one-off.
Yeah,
Uh, so Viru, the drummer who was with DR for the longest time and who also recorded on the Demon King album, and of course Mephisto, the keyboard player, both of them are coming back. And there will be the new guitarist Aditya and myself, and we will be playing mostly songs from that album. And it's a one-off gig that's just for this festival that's happening, Scarfest. And yeah, so that's it. That's pretty much what it is.
uh, I mean, it's in December, right?
Yeah, December 15th at Antisocial in Mumbai City.
I know antisocial. I know antisocial.
Yeah.
Uh, but I'll tell you something. Uh,
Mm.
the scene here has started to grow very recently. So, like for example, you've seen we've started to get a lot of newer bands and older bands to come without any issues. Because here, the earlier we used to have proper big festivals for metal, but then the perception changed, and after
Right,
that, it became a lot more difficult to get bands to come here. But I
right,
think times have changed now, and you're still able to get them in bars and smaller venues. Not able to get them in a big stage like you used to before, because
right,
I guess that notion is still there that it's not really something we can encourage in a country like this.
right.
But how does it work in India? Like I've seen so many bands, big bands like your Suffocation or whoever else come to India, and it seems like the perception there also of what this genre is slowly starting to change and become better. I mean,
Um, I think it's more to do with like Suffocation and all are playing indoor shows in India. They're not playing open air festivals. They're mostly doing club shows where they are playing to 100, 150, 200 people maybe. I think the perception of metal is still it's not really there to be honest. Like uh, in India at least because of the economic disparity between people, metal is a very privileged person's music. As in the people who access it come from middle class or upper middle class or rich people, and the
yeah,
average common man does not even know about its existence, nor do they care, nor do they have access to it, nor do they understand it. So obviously, it's not specific to metal. Of course, there are people who perceive metal as the devil's music or sex, drugs, and rock and roll, but that's such a minuscule amount. Most of it is young kids, parents who are again, it's less about what the music is and more about the fact that it's a distraction from their education or studies or whatever. In terms of like venues and things like that. For them, it's more about economics, and it's not really got anything to do with the style of music. It's like, what is the economic sense of the concerts? And that's the
Mm.
reason you don't see as many big festivals with metal, simply because that it is a very niche genre, further restricted by the economic disparity in India, further down to those who speak English or have
Mm.
the Western sensibility. So the audience is so niche, you cannot scale up as a business. And that's
True,
the reason you don't really have big metal festivals.
true.
There was a time before sort of the live industry that includes stand-up comedy, uh, food and drink festivals, and before all these things sort of became avenues for people to actually go and enjoy themselves and have a good time. Rock concerts were kind of the thing. So, like, there were a lot of people who tried to put in a lot of money and do these standalone concerts, and they all came and vanished from the space. And that's why you
Mm.
don't see the big concerts happening anymore, because they don't really make sense.
Mm.
Whereas in India, we have seen massive growth in the festival space. It's just that it's multi-genre and it is more
Yeah,
mainstream artists, not even from rock music, but like from other genres that can basically sell tickets. At the end
yeah,
of the day, it takes $1 million to put up a festival. You need to sell enough tickets to recover that $1 million. And there are no metal acts that are going to pull in that kind of crowd. So the metal shows are a lot more though now, but they're much smaller, they're more concentrated. So earlier, death metal, black metal, new metal, everything would just be clubbed together into a one show. Now you have like, okay, death metal bands are kind of on their own, the other bands are sort of on their space. So there's a big evolution in the industry here, but it'll be a long way to go before it becomes a sustainable one that people can actually make a full-time living out of.
oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like here also, it's pretty much the same because it's a lot of smaller stuff rather than having one big festival. Because
Yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, considering the audience that is catered to, it's
yeah,
not that big. But it seems like for me, I'll tell you, whenever I go to a concert, I try and take as many non-metal people with me so they can at least try and uh, how do I put this?
experience it.
Yeah,
Experience it.
experience it. And they start to see moshing and things like that, and I'm like, yeah, this is basically what it is. And then afterwards, they're like, okay, we'll come to more. And
Yeah,
that's kind of like how I try and grow it. Because at the end of the day, it's given so much to me, might as well give something back.
yeah, absolutely.
But like one of the things that obviously, you know, one thing I've noticed is that in India itself, a lot of people are starting to take notice because of, say, after COVID, especially, a lot of people have started to, you know, react or try and at least understand the genre and certain bands who have grown out of it. Like, for example, uh, if we take Bloodywood also, yeah, Bloodywood started here, but now at the end of COVID, it's here, you know. So, I mean, I guess a lot of people just during COVID absorbed a lot more.
Okay, I'm not sure I would um be so sure of that. Like, I mean, Bloodywood is a totally different phenomenon. They're a band that has kind of done what nobody else could do. I'm not sure if it has anything to do with COVID specifically. I just think they're the band that kind of was in the right place at the right time, making the right kind of music. The kind of music they make is essentially what the West can sort of understand as Indian metal. It has the Indianness that people are looking for, but at the same time, they also built up themselves like content creators, and they built a community
Yeah.
online and a very dedicated one as well. And because their music had such a positive message, they sung about things that everybody was able to relate to. And at the same time, they had a unique sound that no other Indian band was able to do, with conviction and confidence, and also still sort of in the mainstream sound of metal with the rapping and the Hindi lyrics and all. It just worked for them. I think that's really what made them successful, and I don't think there's any other Indian band that's even close to that in terms of sort of uh, commercial viability or the ability to generate a full-time living from
I
making
mean,
music. So I
the
think
way
Bloodywood
the way they
becomes
manage
the exception.
the way they manage to market themselves entirely. I mean, even now, like, but I think what I've noticed is like, yes, Bloodywood has played lots of big festivals, but I think I remember I spoke to Cask, the members of Cask recently, and they said that some things like even the Wacken Metal Battle, you know, which allows bands who win or perform to go to Wacken and perform as well. That also opens big avenues for smaller bands like this.
Yeah, possible. I haven't played that fest. I haven't played the Wacken battle, so I can't really say. I have played Wacken though as a professional band, so it's a totally different experience though.
How was that?
It was all right, man. It's not a bad show. It was a small crowd. It was on the third day, in between Arch Enemy and Sodom, uh,
Oh,
when
shit.
everyone was drunk and hungover. So we played to like 150 people. And yeah, it was all right, man. I mean, you can see the show on YouTube. The full set is there. Um, I don't know if it like did anything great for the band, but we had a fun time going to Wacken and experiencing the festival and playing the set, you know.
Yeah, because I mean, it's one of the biggies, right?
Yeah, I
That
mean,
and
I think when you sort of imagine yourself doing these things, you do it more from a sort of fantasy place where you're playing to a sold out crowd and but when you actually do it, it's not always what you have kind of imagined or expected. So
true,
that's something that you kind of get hit with when you're actually done playing.
true, true, true. I mean, like, but tell me something. Did you? How did you move? Like when the band was done, right? Did you decide that I want to possibly start another project or go into food at that point, or did you take some time off and then decide that?
No, I haven't taken any decisions like this. Like everything that's happened has kind of just been organic. The food stuff became my job actually in like 2017. Um, it was just that I was doing, these keto diet videos on my channel because I was on the keto diet and the channel blew up and it was paying me 5 times my day job. So I quit my day job and focused on the YouTube channel as my job to pay the bills. And I did that for as long as I could. So the channel had been there from like 2010. It started out as a heavy metal show. I put in 5 years into making videos with like a full production team and a setup and all that. And it really wasn't going anywhere. So I kind of just said, I'm going to shoot videos when I feel like with one camera. I'll edit it myself. And it's just luck that I was in the right place at the right time, making the right videos. So that happened on its own, and that kind of became the day job. So that was always there to pay the bills because, like I said, you can't really make a living playing heavy metal music
True,
in India or even generally across the world now. It's very hard. So for me, that was happening on the side as a day job. With the band, what happened is it's just that after doing it for so many years and having the constant lineup changes and the constant struggle to book a tour and not get anywhere and lose like years of my life waiting on people and just it just broke me down. And I was like, after the 2019 tour, I just said, fuck it, I'm done. Like, I don't think I can do this anymore. And I just let it go. I didn't really say anything. I was like, that's it. I'll do things as and when I feel like, because right now I can't deal with the anxiety, the stress and the depression that follows being in a band. And I continued to make my solo music because during the pandemic, I just kind of realized how much privilege I had. The fact that, we were in this shit show of a pandemic and people were like literally dying on the streets. People didn't have money to eat and everyone was like going through a lot of shit. And here I was literally my life was unaffected because I was working on my YouTube channel. So I had revenue coming in. I didn't have any financial issues. My family was safe. We were isolating from everyone. I could literally go down to my studio and play drums or write songs. So I was like, there's no point in you know, like being bitter about things. I'm just going to go and make some music. So I focused on my solo music at that point, and that's how I put out my EP in 2020, then one more EP in 2021, then a new DR set of songs around 21, 22, and then in 2023, my solo album as well, The Propaganda Machine. So while I didn't want to get back to playing live, I was just like happy that I could make music. So that's how I got back to making music.
Yeah, I mean, like now there's so many bands who prefer being studio only, you know. So playing
Yeah.
live is not playing live is fine. It's perfectly acceptable because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you're still pumping out quality music, just taking your own time doing it. But
Yeah, and
one thing you said, which was quite nice, was that you were even during the pandemic, you were still able to, run your own, run your own thing, do everything without any hindrances. Like for me, when COVID hit, what happened was that I had just come back from Bombay, and when maybe a week or two later, both my mom and dad had gone to Bombay.
oh
So,
shit.
so after that, I it was just me and my dog, and we were cooped up in the house for I think they came back around Augustish because 1 week before they were going to come back, they closed the airport here.
Oh damn.
So it was just me and my dog, and yeah, and rest in peace, my dog now, because she passed last August. But it was quite something, just both of us the whole time.
Yeah. That,
But at least during that time, nobody we knew caught it or anything like that. But because it was a mess, COVID was a big mess. Like here, the thing is, compared to India, they handle it here much better because I mean they were using AI and all that in order to monitor it. And the cops were out and about telling people not to go outside, things like that. So
right.
here it was handled a lot better compared to India because I remember the battle for oxygen and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, it was a shit show in India for sure.
Yeah. But you know, now I think we can talk about the food because that's also something I'm interested in. So, um, you mentioned you were on keto. I was also on keto during the time that COVID was on, and keto was not fun. It was not fun.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, like for me, it wasn't so much the portion size, but more that I was only having maybe 12 to 1300 calories a day.
Right.
And at that time, I mean, there wasn't much to do, so I was sleeping it off a lot,
Yeah.
and there was literally no energy at that time. So I did keto for about, I think I did 5 months of keto.
Oh wow, that's a long time continuously. Yeah.
I mean, I needed to. There was nobody there to cook for me.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, the meal would come in every morning, all three, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and two snacks. I'd eat that, and then I'd pass out. And then but luckily, I lost weight because of it.
Yeah. I
And
mean, you
then,
would. That's the thing. All the diets work. The only thing is, can you sustain it long term or not? That's, I think, the main
oh
question.
man, after my fifth month, I was like, yeah, maybe I'd start cheating a little bit. And then the cheating became too much. Because then
Yeah,
it was like every other day I was like, yeah, I don't feel like eating this. Let's get a burger. I was like,
yeah.
shit. But yeah, I've done keto. I think that was my first round of keto. Then I did
Mm.
keto again a year or two later. That time I didn't cheat it as much.
Hmm.
And that time was much better. But then now, in March, after my little accident, I haven't touched any of these diets. Instead, I've just been, losing weight through normal exercise and things like that.
Right.
Because, I mean, for me, I was 84 before I fell. Now I'm 75.
Oh,
So
congratulations.
yeah, so it's been quite good, just eating ghar ka khana,
Mm.
not outside. Because the problem I realized when I had my fall was, number one, the hip was broken, so they had to put two rods inside in order to support the hip bone, and number two, uh, the back, my the vertebrae, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the L4 and L5 spacing had gone down.
Oh,
So that made it very tight. And at certain times, what used to happen was, like, say I bent over a bit too much, then I wouldn't be able to get back up.
ouch. That sounds very painful.
Oh yeah, it was. It was. I mean, I remember that. Luckily, that didn't happen to me at a gig, but the fall did, and that was not
Ouch.
fun. That
That
was
does
not fun.
not sound fun at all.
No, because like, for me, I didn't for like the first 5 seconds, I didn't even know what happened. I thought it was okay. And then I
Mm.
realized, oh shit, I can't walk.
Sounds painful.
Yeah. Oh yeah, mosh pit. Eh. After that, I was like, I'm gonna go and sit. I don't want to mosh anymore. I value my leg. But I mean, that's what happens when the mosh pit is empty. At least when the mosh pit is full, you can fall on somebody to break your fall. But oh well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the good news is now it's been maybe 8, 9 months now, so
Mm.
I can walk, I can drive, I can do everything now. Yeah.
Good to hear that, man.
Yeah. I mean, I go to gigs now. So, but no
Great.
motion.
Yes. Be careful and keep your body intact.
Yeah. Like, uh, for me, when I started going to gigs again, that's when I realized, okay, I need to have certain safety measures in order.
Yeah.
Because over here, whenever I used to go to gigs, I would mosh and do all of that, but there was never really any danger until that one part. And it only takes that
Right.
much to go wrong, you know?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, I know you get this question a lot. So I just wanted to ask, pork or beef?
Pork or beef? Beef always.
Ah, really?
Yeah, the good ribeye steak is unmatched.
Yes, but like for me, I like both. I eat both. But
Yeah.
I still, for some reason, prefer a pork chop.
Fair enough. I mean, different strokes for different folks.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like pork is a bit more on the lean side compared to beef.
Yeah. No, no, that definitely. Like if you're eating pork chop, pork tenderloin, it's a lot. Uh, well, not a lot, but it is definitely a little less calories than most of the fatty steaks. But I mean, it's not
But
something I eat every day, so I guess that's why I prefer
I
the.
guess, no, for me, I guess the one thing that matters is that it renders much better.
I mean, I
At
think it
least
depends how you
I feel.
cook it and who's cooking it, because you can definitely do that with beef as well. All depends on who's cooking it and how well you know how to cook your meats.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I remember when I had, so I had a few different cuts of meat. and think I had a nice tenderloin, and other was A5, and A5 melted in your mouth like
Yeah,
nobody's business. Like literally, you don't even feel that there's fat there.
yeah.
It just
It's like beef butter.
yeah, I think that's how they make lard, don't they?
Yeah, I mean you melt the fat, and that's essentially what lard is. Yeah, like if
Yeah.
you're making beef tallow, actually, lard I think is more is referring to pork. So pork fat is lard, and beef tallow is basically beef fat.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, for me, I can't eat seafood anymore. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, because what used to happen is I used to love prawn and shrimp and things like that.
Hmm.
Not more fish. I mean, I used to
Right,
eat like pomfret and all that, but I don't eat that anymore because
right.
what used to happen was I used to start getting rashes. So I was
Ah,
like,
so you developed an allergy to it, basically.
yeah, which is something I still don't understand how I got in the first place because I used to eat it all the time.
It
And then
happens.
I
It
was
happens with age.
And then I was like, shit, I can't eat prawns
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah, yeah, it happened to my brother also. He was fine earlier as a kid, then later on in life he developed a prawn allergy. Even I don't have an allergy, but like if I'm cleaning prawns and I don't wash my hands, my hands swell up as well. So never happened before, but I discovered it recently when I was cleaning some prawns. So I can eat them, but I do get a hand allergy if I'm
Oh, no.
cleaning them and I don't
For
rinse it.
me, for me, the issue is it starts getting itchy and rashy,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
afterwards it starts hitting on the inside. So then I might puke too, and I'm like, oh no,
It's better than to not eat it.
yeah. So then I completely stop. But then every time my friends are like, "Come, we'll eat seafood," and I'm like, I can't,
You
I
can't.
can't. Because they don't eat beef, but they do eat pork. And I was
Right.
like, what am I gonna
Hmm.
eat? Because I eat lamb, but
Right.
lamb, it depends where. Because here, all the Pakistani places, you're going to get lamb bathed in oil. There'll be hardly any lamb, but more oil. I can't eat that.
Right,
Like,
right.
I remember the first time I went to eat paya, okay,
Hmm.
and I had a couple of friends who decided to take me to an idiotic Pakistani place that
Hmm.
literally say this is a bowl, okay? This much was oil.
Wow.
And the paya piece was here. So I was
Hmm.
like, yeah, I'm not eating that. So, I mean, really here, because we get lamb anyway, but they prefer, I don't know, for some reason, even the Arab places prefer eating beef instead of lamb. Like you get a normal kebab, you'll get
Hmm.
more in
Beef.
beef. Even the shawarma. If you get a
Right.
shawarma here, yeah,
Yeah, beef.
it's either chicken or beef. Very few
Yeah.
places give you lamb. Very few.
Yeah, lamb is more expensive than beef. That's why.
Yeah, but uh, I mean, like beef doesn't hit the same as lamb in a shawarma, at least.
I mean, I have always enjoyed the chicken shawarma and the beef shawarma. I actually haven't eaten too many lamb shawarmas, I think.
Ah, no, for me, it was actually the opposite. What happened was when I first started venturing into shawarma, I went from doner kebab instead.
Ah,
So in Turkey, I was lucky because I got lamb there. But then when I went to Germany, I got pork, so I was confused. And then they told me, no, it's a gyro. And I was like,
yeah.
yeah,
That's the Greek thing, gyros. Yeah. They do it
yeah.
with pork. Yeah, yeah.
Mm. But it's tender. It's very
Yeah.
tender.
Making me hungry now.
Sorry, I just ate, but I'm still hungry
All
anyway.
good.
But yeah, like I don't get to discuss food on these things much. So when I said that I'll have you, like, we can discuss food too.
Oh yeah,
But
definitely.
tell me something. Like I've read on many of your questions that you prefer to not really eat Indian food at home?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a palate for Indian food as much. I
Hmm.
just don't really enjoy it so much. So for me, I started cooking when I was really young, like 11 or 10 or 12, I don't remember now. And I've always just liked to make my own food rather than eat whatever's made in the house. Because
Mhm.
I didn't enjoy dal and roti and sabzi and all that kind of stuff. I prefer to eat like a sandwich or fried rice or a burger or something. So yeah, I've always just had the palate for other cuisines.
Yeah, I mean, even for me, I'm very similar because even though I end up eating gatha khana every other day,
Hmm.
because what happens is my mother and we eat non-veg, but my dad
Right.
does,
Ah,
you know.
okay.
So, I mean, he eats chicken and egg, but that's like
Hmm.
once a year or something like that.
Okay.
Depends. When he's in the
Ah,
mood, he'll eat it. Otherwise, he's pure veg. And that
right.
also, yeah, so it becomes very difficult when we go out also, because then you have to like see where he can get.
Yeah.
So, like for me, I have that very, even though I eat Indian food all the time at home, I have a very sort of like Asian palate where I like eating fried rice, I like eating dim sum,
Hmm.
lots of Japanese gyoza and things like that. Or I like getting a sandwich or shawarma or something, just
Yeah.
to differentiate the palate. I'm not one who'll run around behind a biryani or something like that because that I can get at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only exception I might make is like a chaat or something. That's it. Otherwise,
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I hate Indian food. I mean, I love a good chole bhature or a good dosa or a,
yeah,
nice hot crisp vada, but it's just not it's not the first thing I'll gravitate towards, It's like
yes, exactly.
once in a while is fine.
Yeah, exactly. Like for me also, 90% of the time I eat at home.
Hmm.
Only a few times, like say we have guests or something
Yeah,
like that, or if I want a drink, then I eat out.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, like for me recently, so we had Oktoberfest here, and that was one of the
yeah,
few times that you get to eat pork here, because
right.
very few places have the license to serve pork.
Ah, okay. Yeah, 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 of course.
So, like, I got to eat pork, and I was very happy. I was like, yes.
Nice.
And I mean, of course, beer and all that, but it's
Yeah,
more expensive at these places. So just pre-drink and go.
of course. Makes sense.
But yeah, like that was something, because I mean, I understand German food is bland, but for what it is, you 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 can take it. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
curry,
I personally don't find it bland at all. I just find it like if it's
yeah,
got
like
enough salt in it, it's good.
yeah, like currywurst and sauerkraut and all that is not a problem.
Yeah.
Even the apple strudel and all of that, it has
Yeah.
taste.
I mean,
But
it's just that for a lot of, I think for a lot of Indian people, because you're so used to that mirchi masala on your palate,
yeah,
anything that is not spiced up just feels bland. Like I think that's what happens in India to most people. But
oh
for me,
yeah,
it's like you can taste all the flavors in that food. Like when it's not like completely massacred by being covered in like mirchi masala.
yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, the one problem I have when I eat Indian food is the amount of dhania that they put on top. Like, I don't need that. I don't need
Ah,
so much
yes.
garlic. Like
Ah,
for me, there's two things I can't stand on desi khana, and that is number one, dhania, and number two, kadi pata. These two
hmm.
things, no. I literally like half the time if I tell the guy I need a sabji or a chicken dish or something, I'll just tell him kadi patta nahi chahiye and
धनिया
dhania
नहीं चाहिए.
chahiye. Ye dono nahi chahiye.
Nice.
I don't know. Like I remember I had this issue when I had gone to Chennai. I made the mistake of doing that. And
Hmm.
I went and then the minute I opened the masala dosa, there was curry patta in that, and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And then, like, when I remember I didn't know what a chicken 65 was. So I
Oh,
ordered
that's
it.
also just curry patta. Yeah.
I ordered it and I saw the mountain of curry patta and I was like, no. So I had to sit down, remove each one piece by piece, and then eat it. I don't know. It's something about those two.
Mm.
Like I can eat a धनिया का जो green chutney है. I can eat
Mm.
that, but
Yeah.
I can't eat the dhania when it's a garnish. It's weird, but true.
Yeah. We all have our little quirks.
Yes. Ah, oh, that was fun. That was a lot of food talk.
Yes.
But tell me something. I've never had buffalo, so how does that compare in order to beef?
It honestly doesn't taste much different. The thing is that in India, we're mostly eating working animals. So that means that these are not sort of bred for the meat. So the main issue is that the meat is tougher. So you can't really cut out a ribeye steak from the buffalo the same way you would a cow. It's not
Agree.
that it's like you can cut it out, but it will be tough and chewy. So you will have to pressure cook it for it to be edible, like to make it
I
tender to eat. So you can't cook it like a steak. But in terms of flavor, it's really not that much different. It's maybe a 5% to 10% difference in taste that most people in a blind tasting wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
understand.
Yeah.
No, because I remember I watched your steak series, right? So
Yeah.
in that, I think one of the episodes was a buffalo steak, and I was like,
They're all buffalo steaks. They're all buffalo
oh, they're all okay.
because that's what's legal to slaughter in Maharashtra.
Because I think at one point I remember I saw a reel with DCT Eats as well, and
Yeah.
that was beef, right?
Um, I cannot remember now which reel. I talk about my reel with him.
I'm not sure because recently he posted one where he was eating beef. So
So he
I'm not.
may have been in Kerala or Kochi or Chennai where beef is where cow is also allowed to be slaughtered. So in
Oh,
that
okay,
case, it is cow, but that would still taste pretty similar to the water buffalo in Maharashtra. There's not much of a difference in the flavor.
wait. So down south they can still slaughter.
Yes, so every state has its own slaughter rules for cow and buffalo and bull. Basically, there are three of them: water buffalo, cow, and bull.
Ah,
And cow slaughter has been illegal in most states for a long time, but in a lot of states it's not illegal. So they have always had cow. In
and
Maharashtra, bull was legal earlier, which got banned, which basically again tastes similar to water buffalo, so it's not really a massive difference. However, you do actually get cows in all the states almost that water buffalo is slaughtered. It's just that it's probably under the radar and it's not official because at the end of the day, farmers do have to use the cows for something after their lifespan is kind of towards the end, right?
of course,
So what they do is they either abandon the cow somewhere on the road or they will uh, give it for slaughter.
I understand.
Yeah,
No, that makes a lot of sense because I was actually thinking I was like, wait, how? Because I didn't know this. And like
yeah,
for me, it was only until I started going to like Nepali restaurants that I realized buffalo was on the menu.
yeah.
Because
And the
for
thing
them,
is, a lot of people don't know this stuff, right? Because nobody asks. No, I mean, India is the second largest exporter of beef in the world.
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
In fact, most of what is the local beef in the Middle East is all from India only.
yeah, that's true. It's true. Because
Yeah.
I mean, here you unless you really pay high, it's not easy to get your Wagyu or your, you know,
Yeah,
A5 or
you all get all the Australian stuff and everything in Dubai, no? You get
Yeah,
everything in the supermarket. It's expensive, probably.
but like it's the thing is those are more marketed towards the supermarkets where predominantly whites would go, you know?
Right.
Like for us, uh, especially in the area that's predominantly Indian,
Hmm.
it's not as easy to get those
Ah,
specific ones.
of
Even
course.
lamb is
Hmm.
kind of difficult, even though we have quite big amounts of Indian and Pakistani demographic who need that.
Right.
Getting good quality lamb is difficult
Ah, okay.
because a lot of people, what happens is they don't even realize that there is a difference between Indian lamb and Pakistani lamb.
Yeah,
You know,
of course. Yeah.
so like for example, if I buy mince, I know what Indian lamb mince looks like, and I know what Pakistani lamb mince looks like. But to another
Right.
person who's not really eaten it all that much, it becomes very
Hmm.
difficult.
Right. Right.
So like, and obviously like the way to render fat on Pakistani lamb is very different because they don't tend to. They just tend to eat it,
Right.
you
Right.
know.
Hmm.
And yeah, so it's all of that is there. And here the thing is, even if I go and buy beef here, you have to pay top dollar at some places because,
Hmm.
like, for example, some places here market themselves based on that, you know.
Right.
Like, for example, um, in downtown in Dubai, near the
Hmm.
Dubai Mall, there's quite a few places that specifically market themselves on the grade of beef that they have.
Right.
And it's not like the food is exceptional or anything like that, but they're able to sell based on just the grade.
The grade.
I mean, here now we have a very like it's growing now. You know, the hot pot culture is properly growing now because earlier it used to be just something that small Filipino demographics used to explore here, or
Hmm.
very few Indian demographics. But now it's starting to grow, and even there, you know, because here what's happened is we've had like massive influx of Korean food, Japanese food, Thai
Yeah.
food. Filipino food has always been there. I mean, for the past 20 years.
Hmm.
Not something that a lot of people do explore because they think everything is sweet, but
Right.
it's not. Trust me, I've had it. I mean, it was the first time I had intestines and things like that, but
Okay.
not
Nice.
bad, flavorful. Um,
Nice.
and I think it was, yeah. So all of these put together, you're slowly starting to get really good quality meat. You know.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm actually hungry now, and I just ate. But yeah. So tell me something. When you formed Demonic Resurrection, was everybody from different like genres, or did you all come together like?
No, so I actually started writing music myself in probably about 98 or 99, and I had already sort of conceptualized the band. I knew that I wanted to call it Demonic Resurrection. I knew the style of music I wanted to play, and I had actually reached a point where I was going to go on stage with the computer and play the show. Take my full desktop to the venue, set it up, and play with Fruity Loops backing tracks. And that was my plan. And just a stroke of luck, I ran into an old school mate of mine, Prashant Shah, who had just come back from the United States. He had done a course at the Musicians Institute, and he was like crushing it on the guitar. So I asked him if he would play, and he said, yeah. And then he got Aditya Mehta, who was his schoolmate as well from his batch, who knew a drummer called Yash. and I connected with an old childhood friend of mine who played keys, and that's how I sort of put this first lineup together. And that's how the band came together and did the first show. But literally, the first year of the band, every show had a different lineup, uh, with some changes or the other happening. So it's pretty much been a project of mine that I put together and then just kept it rolling ever since. So that's how it
Yeah,
came together.
I mean, that tends to be the case for a lot of bands also, no? Like, even if you take, um, somebody like Devin Townsend now,
Yeah.
he's doing the same thing with his solo work because every single record sounds different.
Yeah.
I haven't
Yeah,
heard the
he was
newest.
one of my biggest influences when I was starting out.
Yeah, I could hear that in the first few things I know. I mean, like for me, I remember uh, when I first saw y'all through your clips and things like that. I was like, yeah, this band sounds like it can go places. Because I was getting into prog that time, and you guys came up as a prog band at that time, and I was like, okay, because at that time I didn't really know that death metal could go progressive, or and I had heard very few bands that used to do harsh vocals in India.
Mm.
Because for me, harsh vocals is still on top. Clean vocals I enjoy, but harsh vocals is still up there.
Yeah.
And like I still remember when I saw, because for me, obviously, the Loudwire video that showed every single Indian band that had come at that time, when it introduced me to you guys, I was like, yeah, this I can keep an eye out for this. And then I started following, you know. So and that time, like I didn't really have cash to buy any CDs, so I used to be the one guy who used to sit on torrent and wait. Like, okay, records dropping today, records dropping tomorrow. We just wait over there. Now I use Bandcamp and support, but at that
Yeah.
time,
Of course.
but like, tell me something. Do you use Patreon?
Not for the music, but I do have a Patreon for Headbangers Kitchen. Yeah.
Yeah, it comes in very handy. Comes in very
Yeah,
handy.
it does.
I have one for this
Okay.
for the podcast, but like I recently started it, so I have no idea how it's gonna go. But
Yeah,
it
it
was
takes some
definitely,
time.
oh yeah, it was definitely something I was looking into while creating this, because like for me, I just wanted to do it for fun. But then when I saw that maybe I can monetize this as on the side, because once I had my accident, I had no day job.
Ah,
So,
okay. Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, why not get this going and then keep me busy? That was the
Yeah.
main thing, because
Makes sense.
sitting at home, not doing much, didn't really help. So
Yeah.
then I got the Insta ready, I got the Patreon working. It works now, but I
Nice.
still need to get people on it, so I need to put
Yeah.
extra content on there, you know.
Yeah.
But like for me, one of the things I was most happy about was the fact that I people were very open to sit with me and talk, because it's I thought it would be a lot harder to get people to come and sit with me for an
Yeah.
hour or two or whatever, because I didn't know I could have episodes that would go on for 4 hours. I've
Oh,
had one.
wow.
Yeah, like it was basically me and one of the guys from a prog band here,
Okay.
and we were just vomiting metal on each other.
Nice.
Like today, you and I vomited food on each other. So that was that.
Yeah. Well, that's chill. That doesn't sound very good, but yeah, yeah, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, like you know, it's nice to see that it's a lot. This space is approachable, you know.
Yeah. No, of course. Absolutely.
But like, tell me something now with your solo project. I Are you planning to take this even more forward? along with the food, of course.
I mean, the solo project will always be there. I will just put out albums as and when I feel like and whenever I have material to write and share. But there are no plans to like tour with it or sort of do anything like that because it's not possible because of the difficulty of actually playing the material and putting up a show of good quality, and the economics also don't work out. So it's mostly just going to be a studio thing, which I'll do when I have time and inspiration. Um,
I,
I
I
think that
think,
was something
yeah,
that I really had to figure out was to have fun making music and not put pressure on myself to sort of be successful or achieve a particular goal. So I think that's kind of where I'm going with the solo project is just have fun and make music and just enjoy the process.
but tell me something. When you're writing for the solo project now, like obviously for Demonic Resurrection, at some point you must have thought that even though I am writing songs, these should translate to a live setting well, right? Or was that
No, never. That never comes into my head when I write music. I write music in the moment to express something. I don't really think about how will this sound live or how will this be done elsewhere. No, it's just this is the vision for the song and that's what I'm going for. Like,
no, because the reason I asked that is because a lot of bands who have spoken to me have said that, when we write music, it has to translate live as well. And for me, I don't feel like it needs to, because I mean, there's a lot of bands who would like to go live at some point, but I listen to so much underground stuff that 90% of my stuff is like studio only, It's either a one man band somewhere or
yeah.
something like that. So it doesn't have to translate live as well, because the feeling should still be present whether it goes live or whether it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you'll fall in love with the song when you listen to it, and then you'll want
Yeah.
to hear that song live. So, for me, that doesn't make sense to think of it from a live perspective while I'm writing it.
Yeah. But like now when you know I guess that gives you liberty also, being a solo project, that you can add whatever you want you know
Yeah,
it's not like, because obviously you're producing it yourself, right? There's no record labels or anything like that, so I guess it's good in a way that it doesn't allow any monotony to set in.
yeah. I mean, the labels anyway now. I mean, unless you're signed to some major label, I don't think most labels get involved in the creative process. These days, you have to finish your album on your own, and then you approach labels with the finished product. Uh, Possibly only the biggest labels with the biggest artists, maybe they are in some way, shape, or form involved, but most likely in the case of metal bands, it's not the same, like as it would be with, say, pop, for example. So I think most metal bands just write the music they want and then the labels put it out, and there's no real, you need to write this way or that way, I think.
The one thing I wanted to ask, because obviously you've been in the scene a long time,
Yeah.
do you feel that now, uh, I mean, I'm not naming any names, but with certain bands, it's become more about the face of the band compared to the music that's coming out of them?
I mean, um, maybe to some extent, and again, it would be very case by case, band by band, and I mean, the thing is, it was always there in some way. Like it's always been the singer who gets the recognition, right? Because they are the voice and the face most of the time. Um, and I think, yeah, maybe there's an evolution, but it's no different from what it was before. It's just that now a lot of them, I guess, I don't know if you're referring specifically to like people like Alex the Terrible or something,
Mhm.
who kind of are sort of
No,
viral sensations,
yeah,
you know,
it's
through
not
their
just
YouTube channel.
yeah, it's not just him though. I mean, like I've noticed this especially in deathcore and metalcore now, where say a band explodes, it becomes more about like the fact that the singer has expressed this opinion or that opinion or whatever.
I think that's nothing to do with deathcore or metalcore or anything. I think that's just the world we live in today. Like, because you have so much access to artists. Like back
Hmm.
in the day, you would not get to listen to every thought the artist has. Today, every artist just puts up their phone, talks shit into the camera, says whatever crap comes to their mind, and that's why people talk about it. And because you are in a world where you are held accountable for shit that you say, yeah, they definitely get more notoriety because of that. But that's nothing to do with like it's because that they take the opportunity to talk directly to people and say shit, and then they're held accountable for it. So, uh,
But,
you
you
know,
know, like the problem with that is that it becomes very difficult then to separate the art from the artist, right?
yeah, and that's okay. You know, at the end of the day, we have to hold artists accountable for shit they say. If you're gonna take the liberty to talk about stuff online, you have to be prepared for the accountability that you're going to be held to. It's just that today it's easy to do that. Back in the day, to get to an artist and actually have a long, drawn out conversation with them and pull out their deepest, darkest thoughts or whatever, it never really happened because there was that gap between the artist and the listener. Today, you can send a DM to your favorite artist and they may reply also.
Hmm.
Artists are accessible to you almost 24/7. Artists are sharing their lives, every bit of their life, their opinions. So it's just the change in in every industry, not just with music, food, music, politics, uh, acting, painting, whatever, any kind of art, any kind of person. It's the same across the board.
No, the reason why I brought that up was because I mean I'm sure you remember what happened with Inquisition, right?
I vaguely remember now.
Yeah. So I mean, like for me, I remember when the whole article came out and that whole mess happened with Inquisition. They released a record later,
Hmm, hmm.
and I was asked once that would you still listen to them barring what has happened? People asked me the same thing about Decapitated when their famous incident happened, things
Yeah,
like that. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to discard the fact that there has been effort put into whatever has been made. I'm not going to
right,
discard that because of some incidents that have happened.
right.
If the record overall is good, I'm still going to call it good. I'm not going to bar them from listening to them because of said thing.
Yeah, I mean that's your choice. Like for me, if I find out something about an artist that I like and I don't agree with it, and it's something that is morally something I can't stand by, I would just fuck that artist. I don't want to listen to that. There are thousands of other artists that can get my listenership, you know. So that's my take on it, at least. Like I'm okay to let go of artists that are not good human beings. That's okay with
Yeah,
me.
yeah, of course. I mean, I wouldn't say that, but like uh, for me, I guess the thing is that I prefer to at least give them a small chance with regards to what art they put out. I'm not going to
Yeah, I
judge
mean,
them based on that. You know?
right. No, no, fair enough. I mean, like to each his own, you know.
Yeah. No, because like I was asked that on so many different bands. Like I
Yeah,
remember when the whole As I Lay Dying mess happened, which is happening. It's part two now,
yeah, yeah,
and that's unfortunate. But well,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, like so much is available on the internet now that most of the time people are like, this was an artist I liked, and now they're not. I mean, like
Yeah.
literally, I remember somebody I knew who read the As I Lay Dying story. He was like, "So now they've become As We Lay Dead." And I was like, "Yes, we do. Yes, we
Okay.
do." But it's there are some, and then of course you've got you know all the other bands that are slowly coming out because labels are actually giving them a chance or they're choosing to come out independently, and in that way it's kind of like revitalizing the scene if you think
Hmm.
about it, because one thing I've noticed, especially in all the cores, you
Mm-hmm.
know, be it your metalcore or deathcore or even hardcore, is that when they find the formula, all of them start to ape it. You know,
Yeah.
there's there's very few bands that are like, we'll go against the formula or we'll make a whole new formula. Like for
Yeah.
example, I remember when Tall started. You know, the whole Tall movement with
Mm-hmm.
Vildiarta and all of that. And
Yeah.
then more bands started aping that to varying degrees of success. But
Yep.
now I feel like it's gone down a bit, and people are still starting to go for a more traditional sound, if you can call it
Right.
that, where it's
Mm.
not as down tuned or as abrasive. Because one thing I realized is, I mean, for me at least, because I've heard so much, you know, during the week I listen to an album a day. So it it gets like, especially with rather abrasive music like Paul and
Mm.
brutal death metal, which I do enjoy. Um, the problem is it starts bleeding into each other so quickly that every song just becomes that one single.
Mm.
You know, that
Yeah.
becomes the problem.
Mm.
Like for me, one record I heard recently was the new small EP by Emasculator.
Okay. Never heard of them.
So Emasculator is basically a 3-year-old brutal death metal band of all women.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
well, it's got the vocalist from Unfathomable Ruination who used to be in Abnormality, and
Oh,
then
okay. Okay.
it's got a couple of guitarists and drummers. So
Right.
they're a mix of the US and Poland together.
Okay.
And it's a very good EP, but the problem is like it starts bleeding very quickly.
Mm.
You know, and I mean that's why for me when I'm listening to music, I break it up into different things. Like 1 minute I'll do maybe a brutal death metal record, or in the next minute I might do a prog record, or I might do an atmospheric black metal record. You know, just the
Right.
break. That's why like. For me, one of the artists I enjoy the most is actually Ishan because he does everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, he started in black metal, then he went to prog. He stayed in
Mm.
prog and he really upped the standard of prog and what prog
Yeah.
can. You know, like you've heard his record that came this
Yeah.
year, right? The
Yeah.
normal version and the orchestral version.
I think I'm not sure. I think I might have missed that one. I'll have to go
Yeah.
and listen to it.
So he's basically released two variants of the same record, and it is beautiful. Like,
Nice. I'll give it a spin soon.
what have you heard this year that might have stuck out to you?
Um, I have listened to a lot of stuff, which a lot of which I don't remember right now. Whenever people ask me this, I'm like, I'm trying to remember what I've been listening to, but I think I've been listening to a lot of different stuff. Like there's this band called Rise to Fall that I've been listening to a lot. Then there's Night Rage, which I've been listening to, and then there is like a lot of like Garia, this band called Garia, the black metal band.
Yeah, Gary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and MGLA Mugla. I listen to them a lot as well. A lot of I'm looking at my Spotify right now, so I can remember. A lot of Artspire this year as well. The
Mm.
Crown, Gorod, and yeah, bunch of other bands.
The Gary record is really good.
Yeah,
It's
I really
really
like
good.
that. That was really killer.
Like that band has really like upped its sound big time.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the funniest part is I remember when I heard them the first time, and somebody
yeah.
said to me, this is what happens if Behemoth was actually good. And I was like, you're shitting me, right?
Yeah, I don't think it sounds anything like the image at all. I think so. It's more in that black metal space of Magla and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like it's very McGlaw, Craig's Machine, that type of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah,
But it's also got its own sound, especially on the new record. Because like
yeah. More
I I
melodic.
I remember when I heard one of the singles and I heard clean vocals and I was like, oh, we're going this direction.
Yeah, yeah. They've definitely evolved, and it's nice to see the sort of growth in the band sound as well.
Yeah, like for me, one of the records that I was actually looking forward to this year was the Job for a Cowboy record because it's come after so many years.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm. And when that came out and I heard it and I was like, oh,
Yeah,
this this
I like that as well. I gave it a listen when it came out. Yeah,
it's very pretty. And even the Black Dahlia Murder record that came out now,
yeah,
he Brian fits. Brian definitely fits. Like his highs were very reminiscent of Trevor. His lows not
mm,
so much. Those were slightly different. But his
yeah,
highs were very reminiscent. I remember when I heard the singles and I was like, oh, this is interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we're good for now. We'll definitely
Okay.
catch up again because I
Yes, for
would like
sure.
to eat more food.
Definitely.
Yes. But thank you so much for coming, man.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's been a fun chat.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Like I was waiting. I was like, okay, this week's gone. Next week, no problem.
Yes. And it
Because,
finally happened. So yeah.
ooh, I mean, it was worth it. It was worth it. It was definitely worth it. But we'll definitely catch up again, say when
Yes.
you release more new stuff for
Definitely.
Demonstealer also, and
Super.
then we can catch up to figure out how the gig went as well.
Yes, then done, done.
Because I would like to see that. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if I can be there to watch it, but
Yeah. No
hopefully, in what
worries.
footage is recorded, I could see it.
Yeah, we'll see if we can film it and put it up online.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be
Yeah,
nice. Anyway, thank you so
sounds
much.
good. All right, man, my pleasure. You take care and have a good day.
You too. You too.
All right.
Have fun.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.